Hello, you've reached Bonefish. Please leave a message after the tone.
Hey Bonefishies, love the podcast. I love the band Animal Collective. Let me tell you about how they've completely synchronized with my life over the years. I went to college in fall 2005 and accidentally sliced off 2 of my fingers in a work-study job as a carpenter. I'm in recovery. New friend from New York passes me a CDR with sung tongs and feels both on it. I'd never heard any music like this. I'm sitting there with my hand in a splint. I look at the artwork for Feels. It's covered in amputations. I'm like, whoa, it's me. There's these little children being sliced in half and all this purple love blood flowing out. I'm coming to terms with my own mortality because of the accident. It was a beautiful time. I grew up alongside their music, Strawberry Jam, Person Pitch. Merriweather drops just right before I graduate into this euphoric, I'm an adult for the first time year of '09. I go see them at the All Tomorrow's Parties Festival in upstate New York, where Noah's playing ping pong in the hallway. I see him perform solo and then the whole band the next night. We're on the dance floor. I'm dancing like I've never danced in my life, man. It opened up my hips and my heart. I ended up sleeping on the roof of that building. I woke up in the drizzle. Fall Be Kind comes out. I'm driving to New York. I'm on a highway. I could keep going, guys, but whatever happens in my life, I know Animal Collective is going to have a record coming out soon enough that's going to sync right up with it. It really hasn't stopped. So keep making the good stuff, and let's hope these boys do too. Much love.
Thank you, Lee.
Wow, great story.
For that voicemail. Sorry about your fingers, but sounds like it hasn't dampened your spirits at all. Sounds like you got the right attitude.
He needed to hurt himself before he could start listening to Animal Collective.
Yeah, I like the
it was worth it.
Sort of body horror intro he had to the band. How that put you in the right mindset.
I never realized that the cover of Feels has like mutilated children on the cover. I know there's like children, but so they have like no limbs.
Yeah, I don't know actually. There's definitely the love blood as he described, but I don't know if I ever connected that with the children having missing limbs. But I suppose that's as valid an interpretation as any. Welcome to Bonefish, everyone. It's the podcast about psychedelic experimental music and the band Animal Collective. My name is Christian.
Hey, I'm Justin.
This is the mailbag episode. Thanks so much to everyone who took the time to send in a little snippet. We're going to get into the rest of those here in a minute. But before we do that, welcome back, Justin. Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year, man.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Life goes on.
Life does go on, but not for everyone or everything, it turns out.
Ain't that the truth?
Just got the news that Pitchfork, certain music publication that you may or may not have heard of, is now going to be a subsection of Gentleman's Quarterly. It's been folded into GQ.
Yeah.
Condé Nast has fired half of the staff, which of course includes many longtime writers. Pretty shocking. I mean, when you texted me, I was like, well, when Condé Nast took over, sort of felt like, this was always sort of a step away, but still pretty shocking. I mean, If anything was going to stick around long term, it was going to be Pitchfork, right?
You have the most influential music publication disappearing, folding. I can't believe Rolling Stone's still around and Pitchfork's not.
Yeah.
Easily for me, I think Pitchfork, it's probably my most read website in my life, like since college. I mean, it sucks. It's really sad and it's infuriating. Yeah, a lot of interesting takes like on Twitter.
Yeah.
Say what you want of Pitchfork, I guess, and what it's become. It's clearly changed in the past 5 years since it's been sold to Condé Nast.
Yep.
But, you know, you don't really want to root for writers losing their jobs. And it's kind of bigger than like a few writers losing their job. I mean, it's bad for artists, for the music community, it sucks. I guess Anna Wintour fired them with her fucking sunglasses on.
Yeah.
This bitch did it with her sunglasses on.
Yeah, well, she takes them off. You just see the two like gaping black voids that are.
That's why she keeps it on, yeah.
In her head. On
one hand, it's like, well, what do you expect, Ryan Schreiber, when you sold this to a corporation that.
Yeah, come on, dummy.
That sucks. But there's a lot more like contributing factors, I feel like, to why this happened. I mean, I think tech is responsible. I feel like Spotify is Pitchfork now.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like curation and algorithms, yeah, it's sort of bleak when you think of it that way.
The major tech platforms like eat up all the advertising dollars, Meta, Amazon, and Google, I think. But yeah, I did not see this coming. I'm still shocked, even though a media publication is closing down like every other week and there's layoffs every other week. The LA Times is about to do more layoffs.
Right. They just walked out, right? They just had like a strike.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have BuzzFeed anymore, and Vice, kind of that new media bump that people thought was going to be the future, is dead.
Yeah. 2024 off to a fucking banger of a start.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else.
End of days for media. Yeah. I mean, when we talked to Mark Richardson a couple episodes back, we talked about Young Prayer. He was, of course, former editor-in-chief of Pitchfork. And he said, I remember him saying, like, yeah, you know, it has changed over the years, but, you know, something like Pitchfork will always be a result of, like, the people who make it up, you know? And
totally.
I certainly have had a hot and cold relationship with them over the years. You know, I remember when, like, they gave WAP Song of the Year, whenever that year came out. It was a little bit like, all right, this maybe is not something that it used to be. But at the same time, like, you know, regular readers of the site, you know the value that these close listening album reviews hold, and not even just the reviews, but the things they choose to cover. I know you were a bigger reader of it than I was. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, some haters came out and were like, yeah, well, this is just hipster gatekeeping shit anyway. So like,
I mean, if they think that now, what did they think of it 15 years ago?
Right.
Like, you know, or like, I mean, yeah, there were a lot of interesting takes. Did you see the DuckTales guy?
Yeah, dude.
Matt Montiel or whatever.
Matt Mondonelli. Yeah, that cretin came out of the woods.
Which is like, you know,
to voice his opinion.
Bad take. It's like, no, dude, like, you know, I'm sorry, you know, you're a creep and you got canceled, and that's a whole nother debate, but like, it's bigger than you. Like, this is a space that was supposed to uplift the underground artists, you know. I know it hasn't quite been like that anymore, but it's just like bad when something like this happened, you know. Like, I mean, so that was a stupid take.
Yeah,
I just like, I'm glad Pitchfork's gone.
Yeah, he just vanished off the face of the earth and then like crawled out of his hole, just like spit on the grave.
He had that
Pitchfork.
tweet. Yeah, he had that tweet in his drafts ready to go.
Yeah.
Once,
it's like, come on, bro, you think this is gonna win you fans?
Yeah. And then there was, you know, the whole debate about Pitchfork now. Kind of, the past 5 years have been spent kind of making it more of a inclusive and welcoming space to artists, and now it's just being absorbed into a men's magazine, is really pissing people off.
Yeah, rightly so.
But I bet you they looked at some data. They must have looked at data about who reads it, and people might not want to accept this, but I'm guessing that most of the readership for Pitchfork still is mostly male.
Yeah, and I remember some of this stuff came up because of this recent news, but I was seeing some stuff how back when Condé Nast acquired it, they were like they identified it. They're like, oh yeah, this is like a great, bastion of male viewership online. That's like valuable.
Yeah, it was like
to the
millennial
Condé Nast
males.
company.
Yeah, and it was like a photo of like Ezra Koenig.
Yeah. Which, hey, I mean, a lot of the listeners to this podcast are millennial males. And
it's like, so maybe you can't turn something into something it's not, I guess. I mean, also we have to remember like music criticism and music coverage is not always it's kind of looked down on in the media landscape, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot has changed. I mean, you talk about Pitchfork then and now. I mean, this is also connected to Animal Collective because I mean, like,
yeah, I mean, definitely they wouldn't have the career they have without all the coverage they got from Pitchfork.
And can you think of more of a Pitchfork like aughts band than Animal Collective?
Yeah, I think the prime of the sort of golden era of the site and the golden era of the band kind of overlapped pretty strongly.
Yeah, and that was more of a website that was like, it was I think Ian Cohen described it as like a bunch of dudes running their fantasy sports team that was basically Pitchfork in the aughts, just like kind of it was from a very dude point of view. But the kind of later day Pitchfork, the more corporate centric Pitchfork, like what would you consider like a band that they uplifted that was like a Pitchfork band from like say the past 5-10 years? Like who did they like rise up really? Like I feel like there wasn't really that many artists they kind of brought up. They kind of latched on to big artists already, like a Taylor Swift, or
right, in terms of like plucking smaller bands sort of out of the ether. And
I mean,
really
I guess like
giving them
Yves Tumor kind of, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, they've been pretty on like the 100 Gex thing too, and some kind of acts like that even though they have, you could say like sort of more mainstream appeal, come from a kind of like underground. I mean, I think like a lot of the PC music stuff too, like Sophie and all that. Yeah, which is pretty close to pop. I mean,
definitely more pop. Of a optimism turn. But I mean, yeah, it sucks. I mean, I think like basically like what is it going to look like now? I mean, are Pitchfork writers, freelancers going to even want to write for GQ now? Like, is there going to be kind of like an in solidarity kind of protest?
Like scabbing a little bit maybe.
And are the people who decide to stay on or still write, are they going to be getting shit for continuing to write? I mean, are we just going to have a couple Substacks take the place of Pitchfork? Is it going to be Stereo Gum now, I guess? Is going to kind of be the one to go to? Like, where are artists, like, how are they going to get their word out? Is it just going to be their fucking Instagram accounts now? Is it just going to be social media?
You got to write a 15-second song, put clips of that on TikTok.
Yeah.
Follow the trends, make up a dance for it, hope it goes viral. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of one of the things I'm left with is like, what do we do? Like, I see a lot of people saying like, hey, it's like, what happens? Like, support your media that you like financially when you can, which like, yeah, of course, always do that. But like, I don't know, like Bandcamp was a very direct give money, buy the band's music, even if it's just digital. Like, look what happened to them. So it's just like, what sort of
Bandcamp's dying now too.
It's like that trolley meme that's just running over all the people. It's just like, you can only watch.
Yeah. So it feels like they're just gonna like keep the Sunday Review part. And like,
yeah,
they're definitely gonna keep that, I think. But
we'll just have some dude that like reviews like hair gels, scoring Imagine Dragons records, 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see.
Anyway,
sort of a downer of an intro, but let's hop into some of these voicemails.
What do we got?
Hey, Bonefish Pod. I want to talk for a second about Animal Collective being a jam band, right? So, yeah, for sure. It's stupid, awesome, great. We're with it, we're against it. I don't know, right? But, like, I've been studying the way, like, jam bands jam. I'm not that much into jam bands. I'm sort of like a partner along for the ride, and I'm intellectualizing them while I'm there. Like, Fish and Humphreys McGee, they jam very differently. Fish will like play part of a song and then they'll like jam out to space, and then they'll come back to that song. It's almost like the Dark Star methodology of like coming back, returning, and recentering yourself in the song. And then Humphreys McGee, they jam to close out a song, right? So they play a song and then they go on this big jam and then they close out, boom, on to the next one every time, right? And so like, you know, Goose has their own way, all that jazz, right? And so Animal Collective, I'm thinking about like how they jam in dissonance. And it's the dissonance and the noise that is Animal Collective's jam. And it's when they find that click and boom, we're in a song. That's how they jam. So I think Animal Collective are a jam band, and there's my logic why, and I'd love to discuss it with y'all or have y'all discuss it. Happy birthday.
Thanks, and happy birthday to you.
Cool, man.
Jam band.
I think he nailed it. Yeah. There's definitely that quality where Animal Collective, you know, they're in the song, then they go out there, and then they do the dead thing where they come back to the main melody, like, I don't know, Brother Sport is a great example.
Yeah.
They're kind of jamming, obviously, with more electronic instruments kind of in their voices.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like noise is their kind of MO.
I agree. I also think they do transitional jams, you know, especially live. I think they
Very true.
First of all, they're known for doing just sort of like continuous sets with like, you know, few, if any, breaks in between songs. And some of the coolest moments of some of those live sets are when they like bridge two tracks with this sort of extended jam in between.
Absolutely. You're waiting for that moment where you realize what the song is, and it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. So for sure, yeah, kind of like the DJ set jamming transitions are really awesome. But I think so they're in the jam band world, I would say, but they're kind of in their own universe.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say thank you for giving the community this awesome opportunity. It's really cool. I just want to tell the quick story on how I got into Animal Collective, actually. Me and my friends, we often, every night, are on Discord together. And this one night, my friend decided to stream YouTube just to watch, silly videos together. And after watching a video, I recognized the Peacebone music video. And I'm like, oh, wait, I recognize that, because I had watched that video probably back in middle school for me. It was really weird back when I saw it first. But not only did I recognize it, but my other friend recognized it, and we watched it together. And watching that together actually made us want to listen to Strawberry Jam. So literally later that night, and at that point, it was past midnight. So this was actually going into my birthday last year that we listened to Strawberry Jam. And I will always remember that night. Like, Strawberry Jam will always be my favorite Animal Collective album, and it's a great introduction to the band, in my opinion, at least. I absolutely love that album. And since then, since my birthday last year, I had listened to almost all of their albums, and I've fallen in love with the band. They are seriously amazing, and it led to opportunities like this, like just having a chance to be on this podcast. This whole community is great, and I'm so glad I fell in love with these guys. Again, thanks for having me. Also, shout out to my friend Josh. Thanks for listening to that album with me, man.
Great story, dude. I think there's a lot of moments for people like that where being young, being with your friends, kind of surfing the web, maybe you're like a little stoned late at night and something comes out of nowhere, like Peacebone did for them, and it was just a gateway to this whole world. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
There's nothing like that feeling of like stumbling on something, knowing like, oh, this is my shit. Like I'm really into this, and like knowing that there's like a whole world out there to dive into and discover when you're just the beginning. I love that feeling.
Yeah. I think the band gets that too. Like, like when I was, I don't know, in high school or middle school, like watching MTV or VH1 or something pops up like, I don't know, Green Day or Eminem or something, or Limp Bizkit, and you're like, wow. Or like, being introduced to like, hey, have you ever tried to sync up Dark Side of the Moon to the Wizard of Oz, and like, I know those are those are moments like the band has had. And I think that was their intention. They were talking about when they did their first late night performance. Was it Conan? There's that famous meme of like
Number one.
And the caption says
like woman vocalizing
backwards
talking.
And I think the reason why they played that song, like one of the more weirder songs on Strawberry Jam, was to like reach that like stoned young person on the couch late at night. It was like for them, you know, that was like them speaking to them, which is really cool.
Yeah. Kind of trying to break through the noise of the regular.
Yeah. And that doesn't really happen anymore. Like, you know, it's just on your phone. Whenever it comes, or you got to look for it, or it's just lost in the noise.
Yep.
I am procrastinating at work. I got like 3 cups of coffee in me, and I want to pitch you something. I think I've pitched you this before, but like, fuck it, I'm gonna pitch you again. I think the Bonefish Podheads want to hear an episode dedicated to the musical theory brilliance behind Animal Collective. So you could have someone come on, could be me, playing along like just segments of Animal Collective songs, and then like talk with a music theory nerd about why these sections of the song work and are like, and they go beyond what you usually see in like pop structure. So for example, you could this is a section that I've been obsessed with more recently. It goes, I'm getting lost in your curls. I'm getting crushed out on the things that only I should see. Not for boys, just for me. Hurry to talk from far away. This is the cool part right here. I can see you curl your fists and you pull your hair. When we're alone, I wanna say, let's just stay here. There's no one here in our apartment, babe. Put on the dress that I like. It makes me so crazy, though I can't say why. Keep on, yeah. Like that chorus, man, hits so hard because of like what they're doing with the chords in the pre-chorus. But I don't understand what they're doing because the verse and the chorus are both in C. So it's not like they're changing the key or anything. I don't know, like I want to understand why going to that weird chord selection makes that chorus slap so hard. The Bonefish heads want to know, man.
Great topic.
Beautiful little acoustic cover. Didn't want that to end.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
Let's get a full version.
Totally agree. We need a music theory nerd to kind of explain the themes and technical aspects in their songs. I know the band. I remember listening to one like podcast where I think Geo and Panda kind of discussed. They like consulted a friend who's like a music theory guy and kind of told them like, okay, here's what you guys are doing. And this is a long time ago. I don't remember what the takeaway was. I am not a trained musician. I play music, but I don't know like usually like what I'm playing or like the theory or there's something about the sequence of the chords in Bluish that's really amazing. And in a lot of their songs, like the way they build and the momentum. And I don't know, Christian, you could probably speak to this a little bit more. You're the learned musician, but
sort of barely learned. I mean, yeah, I could I'll take a whack at the Bluish chords. So if we're playing it in D, which is I believe the key that the song is in, for the verse we're just in the key of D the whole time. So we've got D, add the major seventh, and then E minor. That's just the 2. Then we got the 4 chord, G, back to E minor, and then A, the 5th, and back to D. So that's all just happy, good, normal. The part you're talking about sounds so funky cool because we leave the key of D entirely to, I believe, the key of F. And F major is not even in the key of D. We have F sharp is the third. But so leading up to that, we've got when we're alone, I wanna say. So D, G, still in D, all good. Then here we go F, B flat, and then C. All chords not in the key of D. Let's just stay in. No one's here in our apartment, babe. So that last chord sounds kind of weird because we go from C back to A major, which again is the 5 chord of the key of D, our starting key. And it always feels like a nice sense of resolve when we go from that 5 back to the 1, which we do in that pre-chorus leading into that chorus. So it's pop me, babe, put on that dress that I like. So yeah, hope that helps.
Hey, Bonefish Pod. This is Johnny calling in with my experience with Animal Collective. One of the first memories I have of Animal Collective one of the fondest memories I have is watching old footage of Malta Festival, which I believe was in 2006. Just a lot of footage of videos I had gotten through Collected Animals before it was all on YouTube. And one of my favorites is definitely the Here Comes the Indian or ARC live footage video that's on YouTube. It's about a few minutes long, and it's, I believe, by a user called We Damage We from a show back in 2002. And I was wondering what you guys thought about the rest of that footage ever coming out, or when you guys think Animal Collective is going to release stuff such as like old video footage, old, audio. I know we've got a few like ballet slippers and stuff like that, but I guess more in terms of video. Yeah, around when do you guys see them releasing something like that, or maybe like a Animal Collective documentary made by themselves or something like that? I can kind of see them doing a little, maybe not mini doc, but a little video or movie or whatever, just, old footage and stuff like that, kind of like a version of the Animal Crackbox, but on video. That's my, I guess, question/experience. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Kind of hard for me to imagine Animal Collective doing like a documentary on themselves, especially one with like really old footage. Like, they seem so, always eager and like the next thing in the new. And, they're also pretty averse to like navel gazing. I think it'd be sick, but I don't really see them doing making a like documentary about.
I think it'd also be kind of boring. I don't know. It'd probably be a lot of inside jokes backstage and like, Noah shooting hoops or something. I don't think they'd be interested in that. I think that's what Oddsack became. Instead of making like a documentary, they decided to like make something more interesting to themselves.
Yeah, it's like a visual album.
As far as more archival stuff, I'm definitely excited for that. I know Dave told us that he would love to, like, they have a lot of stuff that has been released that they love to get out. It's just a matter of time and prioritizing things. As far as like more like video, I don't know if they've shot themselves. I mean, there's just so much online from fans, so many great YouTubes. Definitely a lot of time spent watching those. I don't know.
What a band. What is there really to say? Got into them same time you guys did. I was kind of a Merriweather baby. 2009 was my first year in college in Chicago, Columbia College. And, that year was just kind of the crest of the indie rock golden era, 2000s wave. And one of the bands right on the top of that wave was Animal Collective. And that year, obviously, Merriweather was out, and all the kind of parties that were going on around campus. And with all the art school kids, that album, and especially My Girls, Summertime Clothes, Brother Sport, was always playing in the background as we were drinking crappy, cheap PBRs. A lot of good memories with that album. And then from there, I just kind of dove into their discography. And I think, the albums that I connected with the most after getting into Merryweather and having it completely blow my mind and change my whole kind of idea of what recorded music could be like. The albums that I connected with most were Strawberry Jam, which I think is my number one favorite, which I'm really waiting for you guys to do an episode on. So get on that, please. But I also really loved the visual album Tangerine Reef, which came out a lot later. Even without the movie that goes along with it, I just, for some reason, really like that album. And of course, Feels, the mighty Feels. And recently, I kind of got into sung-tongs. For some reason, I never got past Leaf House. I just kind of completely, that album clicked with me last year. And so, yeah, but I mean, they're one of the greatest bands. I really think they're probably the greatest band of the aughts, the 2000s, from 2000 to 2009. I don't think anybody could really touch them as far as creativity and the prolific nature of their releases. They're just a really special band. And me being a musician, they've really influenced me as far as, sampling and just the freedom and freewheeling nature of their discography and their approach. What do you call it? Their openness to change and insistence on evolving with each release. So yeah, love Animal Collective, love what you guys are doing on Bonefish Pod, hugely into it. And I would love to talk with you guys one time about maybe Strawberry Jam. Hit me up.
Right on, man. Thanks. Strawberry Jam coming soon.
Hell yeah.
Stick around.
Stay tuned. I feel like I have a lot of similar memories to Merryweather too. Just a very fun time. I think the general mood, across the country had shifted with Obama just being elected and kind of just graduating college. So just being outside a lot, being with friends. It was beautiful. Cool. Thanks for sending that one in.
I don't know how much I have to say other than I was a freshman in college in 2008. I remember one of my suite mates at the University of Southern California. His name is Daniel. He came to my dorm room and he said, "You should listen to this." And he played Peace Bone by Animal Collective for me. And I remember listening to that song for the first time and feeling like my mind expanded. There was me before I listened to that song. There was me after. And then I remember that winter break, freshman year at college, 2008, 2009. I was home in my hometown in Massachusetts, driving around my town with my brother, my younger brother, and listening to Merryweather Post-Pavilion for the first time, specifically In the Flowers, listening to that for the first time. And that same sort of feeling of mind expansion was so fucking intoxicating. And I knew I was going to listen to this band for the rest of my life. And that's it.
Right on. Yeah.
We'll do that.
Totally get that feeling. I definitely, it's a feeling that comes around like really once in a lifetime. I feel like once every 10, 20 years where you just like, it's a total vibe shift. I know for me, I wasn't really listening to like music like this. Like, I think I was like in more of like a indie rock, more traditional indie rock, folk rock,
Yeah.
Wilco headspace, which I love, but this was just like, I think I said this before, like, the scene in The Wizard of Oz where it's in Technicolor.
Yeah. Paradigm shifting for sure.
Yeah, definitely mind expanding. And I remember a moment, this was pretty early on in my fandom, where the first time I heard Fireworks was them playing it live at Bonnaroo. June 2009. And that was a moment where it was like, wow, this feels like this is our music. It feels very modern. And I remember just like looking around, like seeing like, yeah, young people, but also like older people, like two older ladies like smoking a joint who looked like they were probably at like Woodstock, like just jamming out to the guitar solo and fireworks. And then there was like a big like geyser, like water fountain near the back of the crowd, and just remember like jumping into that because it was so freaking hot in Tennessee and humid. And then I remember just going back into my tent and like going on my iPod and like finding fireworks and just listening to fireworks on repeat.
Dang, yeah.
So
yeah, hearing that for the first time in like a live setting would be pretty incredible. Yeah, excited to talk about the tracks on Strawberry Jam, fireworks included.
We'll have to save those goodies.
Yeah. That's a really good like jammer track too. We were talking earlier about like jam bandness. Like that, I feel like that track, maybe I should save this for the Strawberry Jam episode, but sort of the way they return to the first part, but in like a different meter, you know, is such a incredible and like psychedelic experience.
And it's like the one like guitar solo, like long guitar solo, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thank you.
What's up, Boneheads? Hope you're having a great holiday break. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, whenever it is you listen to this. It's your buddy Colin, longtime listener, first time caller. Yeah, great episode. I just finished the Painting With episode, loved it. That is my favorite album. As Justin mentioned, I love that album. So I've seen Animal Collective, 15 times. I've seen them so much. I love them. My favorite show was their second round of Painting With. So they did one tour of Painting With, and then they did another tour, and I caught them, I think, at the Observatory in Orange County. And I think what I realized at that show is something that they do a lot. They'll usually do, I think, 2 rounds of a tour, where the first round is maybe, 2/3 new material, 1/3 old material. And then the second round is maybe the opposite, maybe 1/3 new material and then 2/3 old material. And they usually, the way they do, they rework the songs. And I remember loving how they were reworking the Sung Tung song. Was it Holiday? They did something that was like halftime that just felt so filthy. And it was just really cool to see them reinterpret their own music. They do that a lot. And it was really cool to see them reinterpret their own music through the Painting With setup that they had with the drummer, with the synths they were using. So here's my question for you guys. Assuming that they keep that going, and at some point we're going to get Painting With reimagined on tour, what do you guys think that's going to sound like? Part of me is thinking it's going to be super hard because all the hocketing that they're doing, to me it feels like you got to be on your game, you got to be doing that every night, and if you're only doing hocketing like 3 of your songs rather than like 9 of your songs, technically it feels like more of a challenge. But also, those songs they seem very distinct. Like, how would that work? What do you guys think? Do you think, are you guys looking forward to seeing how they rework it? Do you think they will do that? I want to hear your thoughts. All right, see you guys.
Thanks, Colin. You're a very brave man for saying that Painting With is your favorite album.
Painting With reworked. Did they play any Painting With songs on Time Skiff's tour?
No, I don't think they've played them since the Painting With tour.
Yeah.
I think one day they will, definitely.
Yeah,
and I think
will resurface.
I think the sound depends on what kind of musical headspace they're in for that era. So and I have no idea where they're going to go next. But it would be cool to see kind of more drawn out versions.
Yeah,
maybe more
jammy, less immediate.
Yeah, versions of like, say, like Floridata. Like imagine Floridata being like a 10-minute ambient drone sing along or something. I don't know, or on delay, or that'll be interesting to hear when they reincarnate those songs.
Yeah, hard to say now because you could maybe kind of imagine what a sort of like full band Time Skiffs Isn't It Now era version of those sounds might sound like, but it's almost certainly not what they'll come back with next time around, right? Like they seem pretty done with this period, so kind of hard to imagine what shape those tracks will take, but fun to imagine nonetheless. Thanks, Colin.
Hello, Christian and Justin. This is Sarah from Baltimore calling in. I'm a huge fan of the show, obviously. I was listening to your Painting With episode, and some incredible serendipity was going on in that episode where Justin was talking about moving from the East Coast to California and using the Painting With tour as the sort of reason for making the trip. And it was very weird for me to listen to that episode because he was telling my story almost exactly. I was living in Baltimore, and I'd graduated college. I was in Baltimore for a year, living with my parents, and I knew that the next stage of my life I wanted to move out to Los Angeles, California, but I didn't have any, not that I didn't have motivation, but I didn't have like a reason to go right now. I didn't have like a job lined up for me. It was very difficult to pull the trigger. And I used that show at the Fonda in Los Angeles as a motivator to leave and to leave on time. And I had actually hurt my back leading up to the trip. I was delayed a little bit and in bed, and I couldn't really like turn my head around. But I was so determined to go that as soon as I could turn my head enough to like check the rear view mirror, I was gone, and made it to California like a day before that Fonda show, and the show was amazing. And they played my favorite song, Alvin Rowe, and it was just magical, and saw some DJ sets after. So it's kind of funny that we had the same story going on, and that we were sort of in the same show experiencing similar things at the same time through our favorite band. So that was just very, very cool. I'm actually moved back to Baltimore now. It's cool. It's cool both places, but I do see Deacon here a lot more than I saw any other members over there, because he's just around. But yeah, thank you so much for the podcast, and keep turning them out. I'm excited for every new episode. Peace.
Wow, Sarah, glad you went through with the move. That's awesome.
Animal Collective keeping people in LA.
Animal Collective making people, just commit to their goals. And that's cool that we we crossed paths at that show. That version of Alvin Rowe was awesome. I remember that. I did meet like some of my best friends at that show. Actually, Colin, who talked about the Painting With live songs. We just happened to sit next to each other at that show, and he started talking to me, and he was with my now buddy Blake, and ever since then, we became pretty tight. Ended up going to his wedding, so that's why we do this, man.
Bringing people
together. Pretty cool.
I love that idea too of like using a show as motivation to be somewhere, because like what's better than like seeing your favorite band live? Like you will move heaven and earth to do that, even if like you can't really muster up the motivation to do other things. So.
Right? Yeah, it's like being in LA for 3 weeks. Day after the show, I think I can move back now.
Yeah.
Move back across the country, but no, still here.
Right on. Thank you, Sarah.
Hey, what's up, Bonefish Podcast? Christian and Justin. My name is Hayes Dowdy, and this is my Animal Collective story. So I've been reminiscing on the times I've met members of Animal Collective in person. One story in particular is rather embarrassing for me to look back on. I can't help but just laugh about it now, though, and there's a second story a few years later that ties them in together. So check it out. It was a 2011 AV Tear solo gig at the now closed U Street Music Hall in DC in support of Down There. So keep in mind, this was fall 2011. Tomboy had only been out for a few months, and Merryweather Post-Pavilion was only out for 2 years at this point. So they were still indie darlings, if you will. Anyways, I was a 17-year-old introvert, so I was very quiet, I was very shy, totally awkward, and if there was anybody remotely famous around, I was just going to completely shut down. And I came to the show with my own CD of originals that was like straight out of the LimeWire era, covered in black Sharpie, blank CD, just looked like complete crap. So after the show, Geologist came out and several fans were excitedly hovering around him asking questions. With my Sharpie-covered demo in hand, I mustered all my courage and walked over to stand 15 feet away from Geologist as I nervously admired him from afar, waiting for my moment to enter the conversation. I remember there was one guy in particular who looked just like Mystery from The Pickup Artist if he was a hippie. Like he had this huge, fuzzy, tie-dyed pimp hat on, this tall, lanky white guy talking Geologist's ear off, and I could tell Geologist's eyes were starting to wander around a bit. Once there was a break in conversation, Geologist was so nice, made eye contact with me, and said hi while extending his hand to shake mine. Instead of shaking hands like a polite adult should, I abruptly placed my crappy-looking blank CD that had black Sharpie all over it directly into Geologist's open hand, and I muttered something like, "Thank you for the sweet music." I remember he was definitely surprised, and he probably laughed about it with AV in the green room. So fast forward a few years later to a Painting With era Animal Collective DJ set that was also at U Street Music Hall, and I had a chance to redeem myself. So this is 2016, 2017 now, and when they used to play in DC, they'd play at 930 Club and then have an after-party DJ set at U Street Music Hall, which is what this was. The DJ set ended, security was telling people to leave. I thought I had lost my chance to properly introduce myself to Animal Collective until AV Terror walked out onto the floor. So I went up to him and said something casual but more confident, like, "Sick set, I'm a huge fan." And he very kindly said, "Hey, thanks. I'm Dave, by the way," and extended his hand to shake mine. And in that moment, it's like time stopped, and I had a flashback to handing Geologist my Sharpie demo instead of shaking his hand, and everything slowed down and was in slow motion, like it was just AV and I standing in U Street. So having learned my lesson the hard way years before with Geologist, this time I shook AV Tear's hand like an adult properly introducing themselves should, and I was very pleased with my behavior this time around. While I doubt Geologist and AV remember, for me, it was a prime example of a learning experience and how to utilize proper etiquette when formally introducing yourself to people. So that's it. Thank you guys. I love your podcast. I love what you guys are doing, and I look forward to your future episodes. I'll see you around out there. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bang up job, Hayes.
Thank you, Hayes. Justin, do you have any like sort of cringe stories of like meeting?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've got a few.
Let's hear some.
Never meet your heroes, guys. Never meet your heroes. I actually did say hi to Dave once at a club in LA called Zebulon.
So he was performing?
He was not performing.
Okay.
He was just there like drinking a beer with some pals or something. And I think I just said like, "Thanks for your music." And then he was like, "Thanks. Hey, I'm Dave," you know? And then there was like a few minutes of awkward waiting in line, bathroom banter or whatever.
Yeah.
Got
him in line for the bathroom. So he's trapped.
Yeah. I trapped him. I chloroformed him. I didn't tell Dave that when we interviewed him. I should have.
Yeah.
But, and I don't think you remember me. I don't think so at all. But, I do have like, a really kind of funny, story when I met Connor Oberst.
Hit me.
I think it was before an Alex G show. I was like by myself drinking a beer, and I look over and it's Connor Oberst and Phoebe Bridgers. And I'm like, all right, cool. This is like before Phoebe Bridgers like blew up. I don't know. And Connor was like, started walking by me, And I go up to him like, hey man, cheers. Just want to let you know that I still listen to your music. And immediately I was like, fuck. And he was just so nice. He's like, oh, hey, thanks, man. And that's not what I wanted to say. My intention was just to be like, you know, like, I just love your music through all the years, you know.
I still listen,
like,
bro.
Even though, I don't know.
Even though I'm a grown ass man.
This is the implication that like most people still don't listen to your music. I don't know.
Or maybe that like,
despite it maybe sucking, I still listen to it, which I don't think.
Or like maybe
sucks.
like people listen to him in like high school and then like maybe kind of grow out of it. Maybe is how I would.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, after that, I was like, bro, you got to slow down with like talking to the people that you admire. I mean, I think I've gotten a little better at it. But I totally get it. Yeah. Also, Hayes, I was at that U Street AV show in 2011. That was a great show. Those were all like unreleased AV songs just after Down There that we should maybe do a pod on one day.
Absolutely.
Anyway, all right.
That's funny.
I'm done talking about my cringe moments.
Yeah, I feel like I've definitely have had some cringe ones. I mean, like, I feel like, yeah, maybe because of the like earlier cringe ones, I now like err on the other side of being like so hands off that like I kind of like regret it later. Like when I interviewed Noah for Song Exploder, you know, I love him and his music has meant a ton to me, but I like played it pretty cool. Like we had a chance to chat a bit after, and we like talked about soccer, like Portuguese soccer, and I had just seen him at the Lodge Room like the night before. And
that's
like,
the move. You talk about stuff that's other than their profession.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So maybe I mean, you know, I still asked for like a picture with him, like got one. And so that's not like a cringe one, but that's maybe one where I'm like, dang, like we were just chilling. I probably should have like maybe tried to talk more. But I have one that comes to mind when I was in high school and I saw the band Block Party, who I like, they were my favorite band at the time, like worshipped them. I would go to shows at this place called Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which I had to drive like an hour and a half to get to. And it's a pretty cool old country ballroom. It's in this weird sort of like desolate district.
Is it on the strip there? Like
of Tulsa? Well, so what I realized years and years later is that it's actually like this ballroom was built on the site of the Tulsa Wall Street massacre, like the Black Wall Street there.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. And it was sort of a dark realization that this place I grew up like going to hang out at and see shows was like also the site of this horrible American atrocity that like I didn't even learn about it in school, despite growing up like an hour away from this place. But but that's why this district was like so kind of industrial and desolate. It's because it was all built up around this thing. But anyway, I go to this venue all the time. You know, I would show up early and like I kind of like knew the move of like how to try and like meet someone. Like I would get there early enough. Me and my friends would be waiting outside. We'd literally hear them sound checking inside. And then when the sound check ended, that's when you knew to like, all right, they're going to like maybe go try to find a bite to eat somewhere. Like, let's like walk around the streets, see if we can find them. And so I took off by myself after their sound check ended. I had a vinyl record of their second album, Weekend in the City. And this is like pretty pre-vinyl, like boom. Like my girlfriend at the time had like been in Europe and bought this vinyl for me. I didn't even have a record player, but I like had this. So anyway, I was just like strolling down these empty, like desolate streets of Tulsa, literally not a soul in sight. And then two of the members of the band like came around the corner and they see this like kid by himself standing there with a vinyl record of theirs. It was just like, oh, hey guys. And they were like, oh, hey, weird. Like, and they were also like pretty weirded out by how like quiet and empty this like downtown area of the city was. And I have no idea like what I said or anything, but I just remember it being like, seeing the kind of look of like shock on their faces. You know, these are like two British dudes in like middle of nowhere, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not weird to like run into a fan of yours, but I remember being really excited that it worked out. Like I got him to sign my record and everything, but also being like, it was probably pretty weird for them.
Yeah, it was probably a lot of, very jarring, but that's cool. Didn't seem that bad. Didn't seem like it was that cringe.
I don't know. It's always worse in your mind, I guess. But,
yeah.
Yeah, just forget about it, Hayes. They definitely don't remember it. Don't dwell on the past.
Hey, Bonefish Pod. This is Rod in Baltimore. I make Animal Collective inspired music under the name Unreliable Narrator, and I'm responding to the prompt about a time that Animal Collective blew my mind. I was probably an Animal Collective fan for 15 years before discovering the Water Curses EP, and now Water Curses is one of my all-time favorite songs, Animal Collective or otherwise. I think it so perfectly synthesizes everything that Animal Collective is good at. And from a music theory perspective, the blending of the triple and duple meter, the modulation between sections, that synth guitar thing Deacon does throughout, I just think it is such a cool track, and only Animal Collective would have buried it on a strange EP like Water Curses. Oh, Animal Collective. Anyways, thanks.
Hot track. Hot track.
Really hot track.
They be doing that, putting good-ass tracks on EPs. Why not?
Why not? Go fish,
So I was listening to one of the early Tomboy boots last night, Primavera 2010, and the Scheherazade on there is so cool, because they do he kind of fakes you out with the Surfer's Hymn intro, and then they end up playing Scheherazade, and the King Tubby sample that they put in Mercury Man is playing throughout the whole thing, and it sounds so sick. And it made me think a lot about how Tomboy kind of feels like it kind of bridges the gap between Merryweather and Centipede Hurts. At least for me, I don't know, that whole era of material feels pretty similar to both. Yeah, I thought that was so sick to hear that sample being used early on. And I think there might be a couple other examples of just samples in that set that he would use in later stuff and his solo stuff or band stuff. But it's probably my favorite Tomboy boot. It's so good. So follow up to the last message I sent you guys. I was actually listening to Tomboy last night, and you can hear, in Scheherazade, you can hear the Mercury Man sample from the live versions. It's on the studio version too, for a split second, and there's so many filters, and there's obviously a lot more tracks on the actual studio version, and he fucks with it so much that you can barely tell, but right at the last chorus, there's two little almost metal industrial sort of reverberated noises, and that's it's from the sample. It's so fucking hard to explain though, because it's filtered as fuck, but it's so cool that I wonder how many other Anko songs have used the same synth, if there's a sample that has appeared on more than one or some shit. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I think that King Tubby sample is also in the transverse temporal gyrus.
Oh yeah.
Recordings.
The thing they did at the Guggenheim.
I think about the Guggenheim. Yeah, the Guggenheim.
Guggenheim.
I think it's in there too. But other reoccurring samples, yeah, good call. I'd have to think about that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna find that boot too. Drop it in. Sounds sick.
I love the Governor's Ball one. I was at that show. It was on the anniversary of 9/11, so they had the lights going up into the sky.
Damn.
I think, yeah, that was a great show. Another great era, which we'll talk about in more detail soon, one day.
Sorry, I just woke up, but yeah. So March 2022, the second time I ever saw Anko, I was just telling somebody about this. The encore was a fucking Magicians from Baltimore into Screens into Forever and Green, which is like the craziest encore ever. It might be like the best encore they've ever done. That was the first time I heard Magicians ever, which is like my favorite song from Isn't It Now and Time Skips combined. Honestly, it's like my favorite song of this whole era. But those snare hits in the beginning of the song were so fucking loud. They like shook the whole room. Like I felt them like vibrate like in my body. It was so crazy, and I was so nervous that they wouldn't be able to pull that off in studio, but they totally did. It totally.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, what a 3-song run.
Yeah,
Magicians, Screens into Reverend Green. Screens, man, I'm so glad that has made its way into their live sets. That is a top Panda Bear track.
I love that song.
Yeah.
Love that song.
This is Justin, but not the same Justin that hosts this podcast. Animal Collective has not changed my life, and it makes me sad that they haven't, because I know how important they are to some of my close friends. To be honest, they may have changed my life for the worse, because I had this sort of, I think a lot of white people have this anxiety that, white people don't have soul, or there's just something that's kind of lesser than about, whites or white culture. And when I heard Animal Collective for the first time, I just thought, man, what a sort of awkward racket. Like, is this the music that lives inside the hearts of college-educated white men? And I think I'm afraid it might be. You take that, whatever that sort of agitated, awkward, salvia high spirit is, and then you turbocharge it with psychedelics, and it just, I don't think it makes me a little bit worried on an existential level.
Nice. Thanks for that spicy mailbag.
Justin, do you feel white anxiety? White anxiety?
I mean, yeah, all the time. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, it's funny because I actually think their music is actually like very soulful and spiritual.
Yeah, and clearly influenced by a lot of indigenous and...
Yeah, and, that's a whole other topic. Like, I think all music kind of has been lifted from, Black music,
Yeah, sure.
For sure. So, it's a complicated question. I can speak as a white person, but, I think art like deserves to live on its own, and I think the cool thing about art is it's shared and passed down. But yeah, there's ways that it can really just come off badly. I think this band came of age at a certain time where listening habits changed, and there was like a lot of musical influence, with the internet, and they were kind of record store nerds. So yeah, in terms of Animal Collective being an awkward racket, yeah, I don't hear that, like, which is funny because I know Justin and I love Justin. Shout out to Justin. I also know Justin listens to like other bands that I would think are also an awkward racket.
So does he like Animal Collective?
I think he's trying. I think we're trying. We're trying.
Right.
We've been trying to get other Justin into Animal Collective. But yeah, what do you think of this idea of Animal Collective #2white?
Doesn't really resonate with me, to be honest. I certainly have white guilt that takes some forms, but not really in the areas of like musical enjoyment or identifying with artists that make art that I like. I think if something were inauthentic about it, I would, and maybe that's where some of his consternation stems from, is if if he's trying to like this band and feels awkward about it, then yeah, I don't know, don't force it. I guess maybe go listen to Wu-Tang or something.
We're also two white guys doing this podcast, so we don't want to, I guess, speak for other people,
Of course not.
And Yeah, it's just interesting how other people hear things. I mean, I totally get how people might be turned off by this band, but then I also just don't get it because I love this music. So I mean, I think the way I don't really, I can kind of see the awkward kind of frenetic, like we're almost trying too hard hipster vibe of Animal Collective, but to me, I hear it more as like very adventurous, like loving, like deeply spiritual music.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never really gotten that whole like hipster Animal Collective thing. Like
same.
Like I don't,
I guess it's because we're hipsters.
Growing up listening to like the Strokes and stuff, like those are like the cool guys. Like,
right.
I mean, maybe you could argue that the rise of Animal Collective and like the coverage they received in places like Pitchfork sort of gave rise to this thing. But like the dudes are freaks. Like they got famous for being like
not caring,
and being not cool. Like
not cool,
doing what they did when they did,
and not really knowing what kind of
cool.
image they wanted to put out into the media. Like, I mean, they were wearing masks. They were trying to really detach themselves from their identities, like from their from themselves as people. Like they tried to really put you outside of themselves and put you really somewhere else, where I think that, that's what was really cool, where you're really just trying to think about or just get lost in the music and not who's making this music, whether it's somebody who's white, black, purple, or whatever the fuck,
Yeah. Not sure what to tell you, Justin.
Keep trying, bro.
Don't feel bad about being white, I guess. Don't think too much about all of that. And just like what you like, be authentic, and coolness is having courage to do what's right.
I will say, I know Justin loves Radiohead, as do I, and I think Christian. And if this were a Radiohead podcast, I don't think Justin would be saying the same thing, because you could also say Radiohead is very anxiety driven / also an awkward racket.
Yeah.
Maybe, the sort of overtly happy, optimistic vibe of Animal Collective is what turns Justin off, maybe.
Also, if this is the music that lives in the hearts and minds of college-educated white liberals, what's wrong with that? Like, if it's a true feeling that resonates with people of our particular subset, like,
there's a lot of, this is just like the conversation that's been happening everywhere, and it's kind of this worry about the impact of art and what it has on society, instead of like just enjoying it,
Sure.
Or what's the impact of this information,
Yeah.
How is it going to be received? Is it dangerous? Like, just kind of tired of that. I don't know. It's kind of, art is art for a reason,
Yeah. And maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's some connection there to the earlier conversation about Pitchfork and stuff. Like, remember when we talked to Mark again, you praised him for being like a purist in terms of music reviews. And and there's also a lot of discussion when news that Pitchfork was shutting down about people who are like, yeah, you know what? I love music. I don't really read a lot of music criticism. Don't need to. I just listen to it. If I like it, I keep listening. If I don't, I don't. Like,
there's a lot of people out there who don't think about this stuff.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, you probably do. And we understand that that's a lot of fun. And as much as we like to dissect things and think about their meaning and maybe their political impact, I also kind of try not to. I also just try to appreciate music for the way it just feels and moves me and goes through me. And that's why when I told Mark, like, it wasn't a knock to say that he kind of focused music just on the sonic aspects, not on whether it's cool or its connection to modern society or whatnot,
or the whatever narrative or identity.
Yeah. So, and I think, if you're on Twitter, you're going to be thinking about those things, but most people don't care about that.
Yeah. Don't have feelings about your feelings. Blow your fucking brains out that way. Thanks, other Justin.
Hey guys, big fan of the pod. I actually grew up in Howard County and Baltimore County, Maryland, sort of where the Animal Collective guys are from. I was in high school in 2009 when Merriweather dropped. I first heard My Girls and In the Flowers on the Alien Workshop skate video Minefield. Jake Johnson skated to My Girls and Jason Dill skated to In the Flowers. And I was like, what is this music these guys are skating to? Had to look it up. Ended up finding, it was kind of a journey to be like, oh my God, this music's so cool. Oh my God, these guys are from where I they grew up where I'm from. And then I was going to concerts at Merriweather Post Pavilion when that album dropped and picked that up and kind of got into them around, again, 2009, 2010. So ended up getting cut off, so I'll try to make this a bit shorter. Just some cool stories. Got to go to the, I believe, debut pop-up show for AV Tear's Slasher Flicks. They announced it on Facebook at some small venue in Baltimore called the Metro Gallery, I believe, and got to meet AV. I was lucky enough to see them perform at Merriweather when they were touring. I believe I saw them with Black Dice opening, and Black Dice terrified my friend that I brought with me for that show. And then I saw them open for Fleet Foxes at Merriweather, weirdly enough. Most recently saw Panda and Sonic Boom at the 930 Club, which was incredible, and was also lucky enough to be at their recording of their live album at the 930 Club, which was, their performance of Purple Bottle at that show, changed my life. The energy was insane. So yeah, I wanted to keep it kind of short, but I've been a fan of them as long as I've known about them, and actually just recently got a copy of Oddsack for Christmas, which I watched. It holds up. It's still incredible. So yeah, hope that's some cool little notes for you guys. If there's anything more I can give you, I'd love to talk more. I love Animal Collective. So yeah, thank you guys for doing this. I think it's really cool, and like I said, I love the pod.
Thanks for writing in, dude. Yeah, a lot of Merriweather babies.
Yeah.
Voice memoing in. Cool.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
We found our people.
So too many moments to count. Let's throw off a few. AV Scream in Grass. Watching the Man of Oil making of doc and seeing AV shaking his leg with those some sort of percussive, you know what I'm talking about. And then honestly, just getting Animal Collective to open me up to so many different facets of music. Now that I can accept some of their ambient stuff, I was listening to see what Lou Reed has, Metal Machine music, that kind of stuff. I can accept these things a little more and challenge my brain. So I think it's just how they blew my mind is opening me up to accept my mind being blown just with more things into the world. So thanks, guys. Love the pod. It's so sick. Just keep it up, man. You guys are doing great.
Thanks man. Yeah, dude, that Vice doc of them doing Meeting of the Waters is tight.
That was really cool.
Sort of a little under the radar gem.
Yeah, that one's in one of their it's got a lot of streams.
Oh yeah, Man of Oil is one of their most streamed songs. Yeah,
and I think it's probably because of the Vice.
Well, it's just
doc,
super accessible. I think it comes up on people's playlists, and there's oh, I like this shit.
It's got a catchy song.
Yeah, real cool AV and Geo collab.
Yeah,
on that one. Yeah, basically performed live too. It sounds like. I always think of that when I hear that song. He's talking about that line, "I woke to sweats in the night, strange sensation to feel alive." And maybe it's just because I'm on a cannabis break at the moment, but you know how you stop smoking weed and you're dreams come back really intense. You have night sweats. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I've definitely been in that zone this month. And I just think of AV Terror being in the Amazon without grass and going through a detox a little bit.
Yeah, I feel you. I've been there.
And that does it for the voice memos. Thanks again so much to everyone who took the time. I'm pretty sure everyone who sent one is represented in this episode. If I missed you, apologies. But yeah, that was really fun listening to what you guys had to say. Definitely do another one of those in the future at some point. But yeah, until next time. Justin, anything you want to add?
No, thanks for sending stuff in.
Right on. Well, take it easy, everyone. This has been Bonefish. You can find us on Instagram. That's at Bonefish Pod. And yeah, more stuff cooking on the way. So watch this space. Peace. Later.
Bonefish.